Today, we explore the possibilities for upgrading the Lenovo ThinkCentre M720t mid-tower desktop into a capable gaming machine. We can find this used desktop PC on eBay, with prices ranging from as low as $130 to over $300, depending on its specifications, the seller, and the region. Unlike the M920t, the M720t has very limited upgradability, particularly in terms of power supply options and available space. Fitting a GPU into this PC is a bit tricky. Besides a low-profile GPU, only a short-length and short-height GPU can fit in the case, which means no high-performance GPU can be accommodated. Here I have an EVGA RTX 3050 8GB. It is small, with a short height and short length. However, it is not a low-power GPU. It requires a 1x8-pin PCIe power cable, and its TDP is up to 130 watts, which means I need a higher wattage PSU to handle this GPU in this setup. Many people complain that the RTX 3050 8GB model has poor performance and is overpriced. However, I bought this GPU used for $140, which is not as expensive as it once was. So, is this GPU really that bad? Let's find out. For the power supply, I chose a Flex 400-watt PSU. This power supply is not from a well-known brand, and I bought it very cheaply on AliExpress for just $25. To install a standard 24-pin ATX power supply in this PC, I need a 24-pin to 10-pin adapter cable for the Lenovo motherboard. This cable will allow me to connect a 24-pin ATX PSU to this PC. You may find genuine PSU replacements for Lenovo, but they are generally too expensive. If I buy a used one from an online store, it's really hard to determine whether it is a legitimate PSU or a counterfeit. The Flex PSU offers a more accessible price and a wider range of options, making it available to more people. We can choose either a low-cost or high-cost option based on our needs. Now let's remove the side panel and explore the upgrade possibilities for this PC. This PC comes with a 180-watt power supply. And here, I've installed a Crucial P3 Plus PCIe NVMe SSD with 1 terabyte of storage. There are 4 RAM slots, and I've installed 16 gigabytes of DDR4 memory using 2 8GB RAM sticks. The CPU installed in this PC is an Intel Core i7-8700. This PC supports 9th generation Intel Core processors, so we can upgrade it up to an Intel Core i9-9900. There's 1 PCIe by 16 slot and 2 PCIe by 1 slots. There are 2 case fan mounting options available in this PC case, one at the front and one at the rear. There is a speaker here. We can only install 80mm case fans, both the rear exhaust fan and the front intake fan. Now let's remove the stock PSU and prepare to upgrade to a larger one. The stock 180-watt power supply unit has only one 10-pin motherboard power cable and one 4-pin CPU power cable. I will use a 24-pin to 10-pin cable adapter for the Lenovo motherboard. Be aware that this cable connects the PS-on pin directly, so whenever you plug the PSU into the wall, it will turn on the PSU. We cannot install a full-size ATX power supply in this case, unless we bend or cut off these parts. As you can see, there is a PSU support bracket here. The best option for now is to use a Flex PSU. However, I need to design a TFX to Flex PSU 3D conversion bracket for this setup. So now, let's design a bracket where one side follows the TFX PSU size and screw hole placements, while the other side follows the Flex PSU size and screw hole placements. It takes 30 minutes to print this bracket. For the TFX side, I designed it to accommodate female threaded insert nuts for mounting to the case. Now, let's insert the female threaded nuts using M3x5x5 insert nuts. Now, let's secure the PSU with a 3D printed bracket using 3 screws. You might wonder why I didn't design the bracket for the Flex PSU to fit entirely within the TFX PSU side, even though it should fit. The reason is that it would block the power cord due to the case design. So I decided to shift the Flex PSU side to the right by about 15 millimeters. And here is the final result. What do you think? All 3 screw mounting holes are aligned, as I can see through the case's mounting screw hole here. So now let's secure the PSU to the case using 3 screws. All right, it looks good. Now, let's connect the 24-pin to 10-pin power supply cable adapter to the motherboard. And then, connect the 24-pin PSU cable to the adapter. Most ATX power supply CPU 8-pin power cables can be split into 2 4-pin cables. So now, let's split the cable and use one to plug into the CPU 4-pin power slot on the motherboard. Since my PSU cable is too short, the cable management doesn't look very good. Now let's install the front intake fan and the rear exhaust fan. Now let's prepare the case for GPU installation. There are 2 fan headers right here, so I'll connect the front fan to the nearest header since my fan cable is too short. Now, let's install the GPU. This GPU is 200 millimeters long and 40 millimeters thick, but there's still too little space for it. So maybe only a low-profile GPU would be easier to install in this PC case. After connecting the GPU with an 8-pin PCIe power cable, it seems too tight to close the case. So it would be better to use a 180-degree PCIe power connector, but I don't have one right now. All right, the upgrade process is complete. Let's prepare the PC and power it on. Now let's connect the USB Wi-Fi adapter, HDMI cable, and power cord. All right, now let's turn it on. Okay, it works. The PC boots straight into Windows without any BIOS warning error message. Now let's check the installed GPU to make sure it works properly. Here, we have an EVGA RTX 3050 with 8 GB Micron GDDR, 6 VRAM, a 128-bit bus, and running at PCIe X8 Gen 3. The GPU is working fine with this setup. Now let's run the CPU stress test to check its thermal performance in this PC setup. You can monitor the core temperature using the HW Info app on the right side of the screen. With the stock CPU cooler fan, the Intel Core i7-800 manages to run at around 75 degrees Celsius, so the CPU temperature is acceptable. So now let's run a GPU stress test using Firmark to check the GPU power draw and temperature under full load. With the 1080p test, the FPS reaches around 77, compared to 63 FPS on the RTX 3056 GB, showing slightly better performance than the 6 GB version. The EVGA RTX 3058 GB has great thermal performance, with the GPU temperature staying around 65 degrees Celsius, the hotspot reaching about 75 degrees Celsius, and a maximum power draw of 130 watts. Let's try out some gameplay now. Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p with the medium graphics preset. Now let's run the built-in game benchmark. It seems the 2 case fans installed are working. The GPU temperature is very good. Even under 100% load, the GPU temp is only around 60 degrees Celsius. The result of the benchmark test at 1080p with the medium graphics preset shows an average FPS of 87. Do you think this setup is worth it? Please let me know in comment. Now let's try playing God of War. For the graphics preset, I set it to Original, and DLSS is set to Quality. So let's see how the gameplay performs. It looks great. The gameplay achieves around 90 FPS and feels very smooth.
The apple doesn't fall far.
Now let's move on to Resident Evil 4 Remake. For the game resolution, I set it to 1080p and chose the Balanced Graphics preset. Based on the RTX 3058GB reviews on any website, it is not a high-end 1080p or ray tracing gaming GPU. So most of the game tests here will be at 1080p with medium graphics settings.
¡Agarradlo! ¡Te voy a hacer picadillo! ¡Cuerpo! ¡Cuidado! ¡Vamos a romper en... ¡No me jodas!
The last game I want to test here is Doom Eternal at 1080p with the high graphics preset. The game was released in 2020, so it's a bit old and easy to run on any low-end gaming PC. After rigorously testing various games, from Cyberpunk 2077 to Resident Evil 4 Remake and Doom Eternal, I'm satisfied with this build overall. In my final thoughts, the RTX 3058GB delivers noticeably better performance than its 6GB counterpart, resulting in smoother gameplay and improved benchmarking at 1080p. Although the power consumption is nearly double, the enhanced gaming experience justifies the trade-off. Thank you for watching and joining me on this performance journey. Your support means a lot, and I hope these insights help you make informed choices for your own builds.